Nobody's perfect. So let's get into it.
Godly, I'm being exotic. She's is robotic, so we can make billions from building a hobby.
So I'm not much different from you guys. I have the YouTubers that I follow in the community as well. One of them is Swaggle Hoss, and he just recently released a video talking about the new merger between Marvel and VeVe. There's a couple things that he said that I kind of want to address and give kind of a different perspective to. And there's some other things that I just like to outright correct. No diss against Swaggle Hoss. I fucking love Swaggle Hoss. He's a for real filmmaker. I'm not a for real filmmaker. I've seen his work and I love his work. And his YouTube format is fairly decent. I prefer more relatable, down-to-earth people. He's one of them, but nobody's perfect. So let's get into it. VeVe is a company that launched sometime in 2021 that kind of found its niche in being a platform specifically based on NFT collectibles. One of those NFT offerings that they had were digital comic books, and they released back issues, and they had a means of being able to actually store and read your comic books. Comics are limited, so they have value that's associated with them because of how they're associated with the blockchain. Listen, I'm not a crypto guy. Don't even get me started on all this stuff. NFT, blockchain, I don't. Essentially, a blockchain is a means of different servers or computers that are verifying a transaction in a ledger that exists throughout the network. And so it's a means of notating the validity of a purchase of a specific item. Man, I hope I said that right. So Swaggle Hoss hops on and he's talking about how Marvel and VeVe have this new venture where they're going to start and launch VeVe Comics. And now day of releases will be available for purchase as NFT digital comics. The immediate response, what happens to services like Marvel Unlimited? Well, I don't think that this is going to have a huge impact on Marvel Unlimited as we know it right now, because while VeVe is a dope place to buy comic NFTs, if they allow launches for day of releases, that's beautiful, but Marvel Unlimited doesn't do that. Marvel Unlimited, on the other hand, is a subscription-based service that you pay monthly that allows you access to a back catalog of back issues that Marvel has already digitized. So there's a stark difference between the offerings of the two. They both have comic readers, but the comic reader from Marvel Unlimited is based off of the old Comixology app. It allows you to swipe from panel to panel in a comic book, whether it's viewing it in landscape mode or if you're viewing it in vertical mode, which is cool because they allow for really cool transitions from panel to panel. It kind of helps give the story some flow. As of my experience with the VeVe app and their website, very, very rudimentary on how you would read comic books on there, because you can read it page for page, and you can read it in augmented reality, which is kind of cool, but it has its limitations. For example, the app isn't really that user-friendly. It's kind of janky when you're using it. I would imagine that once you get used to controlling the space in which you'd be reading a comic in, it's probably a lot easier. But to be honest, I'd much rather just use my tablet or my phone. So the new cool thing is that VeVe is going to start offering comic books on day of launches. The concern is that it's going to have an impact on Marvel Unlimited. Well, Marvel Unlimited doesn't offer day of releases. So it's not really that big of a deal because we're not talking about the same offerings. Now, what I think would be dope is if there was a way to link your Marvel Unlimited and your VeVe apps together. So one, you have your subscriptions and back issues, as well as your new releases all in one place. But two, you can now use a better reader for reading your VeVe comics. So I wouldn't go as far as to say that a VeVe and Marvel merger will replace a Marvel Unlimited. If anything, what they'll replace is the Marvel Comics app that used to exist, that you could purchase day of comics or week of comics on the app directly, and also purchase back issues. But why would you do that? Think about it. So you have one service that allows you to purchase comic books and another service that allows you to purchase comic books, but the Marvel Comics app doesn't have what VeVe has. And that's a secondary market that Swaggle Hoss talked about. So imagine just being able to not only read digital comic books, but also being able to resell them on a secondary market. Now, as Swaggle Hoss put it, I think that there's probably a cut or a percentage that Marvel is going to get as a kickback on this, and this is just another way for them to milk money again. But what do you expect from a business? Of course, they're going to try to monetize their older content. I would. So introducing that secondary market big deal, especially if there's like a new release of a comic that comes out and there's a first appearance of a character that everyone seems to be really excited about. Spider-Boy. Another thing that Swaggle Hoss had mentioned where comics should be digitally. A couple of the things he said I agree with. However, Marvel Unlimited already offers some books in a format similar or comparable to webtoons, and that's their Infinity comics. So it's the same thing that you would scroll the same way you would in webtoons. Now, it's not animated, and I think that's where Swaggle Hoss is really onto something. I don't know if you've seen any of the trailers for new comics that are being released by Marvel. They're kind of animated with rigging, and they have parallaxing. Imagine a world where you have an Infinity comic that does the same thing. It's beyond me on how it happens. You would have to map the rigging to the scrolling, which would be cool and crazy, and I'm probably giving out like $1 million idea right now, and it's probably not as difficult as I think it is because you have websites that have parallaxing in them, so why would it not work? But yeah, overall, I'm kind of unbothered by the whole thing with VeVe releasing new books. I didn't really buy new books on my Marvel Comics app unless it was something that I was following closely. And now I just kind of go to my LCS for that. And the thing that I think is going to get super annoying with an app like VeVe is that they do drops. And drops happen at specific times. And if you miss the drop, then you're stuck with buying something on the secondary market. And it's kind of no different than how it would be if you were buying it in real life. And at that point, there's not really much of an advantage other than I'm trying to score a digital comic book like I'm on the sneakers app for the newest pair of Jordans or something like that. So not anything that I'd be all up in arms about. I don't think that's a big of a deal. I think that there's potential for this to grow if the medium expanded. And if they really want to kick it up a notch, then they probably should invest in a VR supported app. Maybe I'm biased because I read comics in VR. Can you imagine having on a Quest headset and reading a comic in augmented reality that responds to hand gestures and movements and things like that? Yeah, that sounds way more user-friendly than the embedded AR VeVe app as it is right now. But what do you think? What did you think about Swaggle Hoss's video? What are your opinions on VeVe? What are your opinions on the Marvel and VeVe merger? Leave a comment below. While you're at it, give us a like and subscribe for more nerdy content like this. And until next time, I've been Matthew Lucas, and